On a cloudy night in late 1944, workers pulled tarpaulins of a large aircraft on a secret, heavily guarded airbase near Stuttgart. 6 engines, 3 on each wing, marked the newest achievement of German airplane engineering. A crew of 2 test pilots, 2 engineers and a navigator climb aboard, and without any illumination, the engines thunder alive. Soon, the massive unmarked plane lifts off the runway and makes its way into the overcast skies. The first test flight of the new Messerschmitt Me-264, nicknamed the Amerika Bomber, will leave German airspace near Hamburg, then fly across the North Sea, turning west past Scapa Flow, to avoid British radar detection and possible leaks to the enemy from syndicalist sympathizers. Then, they'll continue north across the Atlantic, till they reach the German airfield near Nuuk in Greenland. The test flight will prove the capabilities of this ultra-long-range aircraft, but there's a second, even more secret test being conducted simultaneously. Over the open Atlantic, with no means of possible recovery by enemy forces, a single massive bomb will be dropped. It's still missing its payload, but the first test of what's been dubbed the Bombe A, or Bomb A, is to prove the viability of the release mechanism and the altitude trigger. With the American conquest of most of the Central American territory, Cuba is becoming rapidly, or at least North Cuba is becoming rapidly the last holdout of Reichspakt alliances in the area. That said, Australia and the moves on Australia are progressing, and while the Hawaiian invasion of Sydney has originally been repelled to be replaced by a Dutch invasion, which seems to have made more progress here, the Hawaiians have been rather successful in invading New Zealand. So we will see how well that ends up working, and if the troops near Wellington can manage to hold, but it doesn't look like. However, reinforcements are arriving, so it could be that we will see the Kingdom of Hawaii taking over more possessions in the Central Pacific. They are rather essential to the whole defense line. So let me quickly double check. We have the airbase, we've got a primitive radar, and we do have the naval base, I believe. Yes, we have the naval base up to speed. So it is actually expedient to start moving the 5th Schlachtgeschwader of the Pacific Fleet under Admiral Karls to the Hawaii Ridge to reinforce the Hawaiian troops in the area. So let's move them over there, and they will complete their training exercises, then go through repairs, and then will become operational in the area. Troops near Afghanistan are moving into their positions, and if Afghanistan should decide to launch a war against the Reichspakt, then this little position here will be dealt with quickly. And the advanced carrier hull is complete, which means we can continue up to the modern carrier. We're probably going to be skipping this entirely and start with the modern carriers once we get there. And then it's just the submarines. It's just the submarines that are going to fall in there as well. Let's observe the combat, because it looks like the Dutch are about to be driven out of Sydney again, and there has been a naval invasion near Brisbane, but it looks like German East Asian troops are struggling to actually take Brisbane and reinforce with the troops in the north. But the death of German syndicalism has been proclaimed, and with that, I believe we got 10%. We should have gotten 10% base stability, but I think it's already probably been at 100, so we're not really noticing anything. But any kind of socialism is no longer in favor in any way whatsoever. Not implementing the 50% plan can't restore civilian administration yet, because the French have not yet gotten their things under control. And we do have the Deutsches Weltreich, the German worldwide empire. And I think that is probably where we're going to go next. We do have to do some domestic politics still, but let's get that sorted. and proclaim that the Reichspakt and the German Empire as its undisputed helm is going to be well, in charge of things in the world. So let's see if the Dutch are the Dutch have made contact with the German East Asian troops that have landed, and more attempts are being made to land at Brisbane. But despite the fact that the Luftwaffe bombers are assisting with these landings, they haven't managed to get the forces to break through. However, attacks from Dutch forces that have landed on the beaches south of Brisbane are going to have another attempt, and we are just checking that we are in the air zone. So there's a fair amount of enemy support planes up in the air. We might have to send a few more. What's the utilization here of the airports? I think we've got 700, so we can send a few more of the medium bombers south, so they can actually get into range, because from up north there they're not going to be doing an awful lot. So we'll send some more planes south. We still got a few more tactical bomber wings. So let's see. Yeah, that is overloading. Overloading the airport somewhat, so we might have to send one. We'll send one bomber wing back up north, and they can run some training exercises. So that one is going to run exercises. Meanwhile, the Mittel Europa Commission Summit is happening, and there are important decisions to make, because Germany is now at the helm at the moment, at the presidency. So we will establish the Directorate of Enlargement, which means that we are going to have potentially decisions available, or diplomatic actions. I think it was diplomatic actions to start including more countries in Mittel Europa. So let's see who isn't. These obviously are already. But we could start inviting Russia. But I think at this point, Sweden and Denmark are already in the Mittel Europa system. I don't think there's a good view. Oh, here we go. So we've got Germany, the United States of Greater Austria, the Ottomans, Flanders, Wallonia, Netherlands, Ireland, Poland. We could start integrating the French and the British first. I think that's probably a good idea to start with, especially that we already have Spain. So let's see if we can get France into the Mittel Europa system. And we're going to be doing the same with the States and the British Isles. So we're going to get England, Wales, obviously Ireland, which is already there, and new member Scotland in. And let's see if they accept these invitations and start becoming members of the Mittel Europa system. The aircraft flying out of the Azores are sinking American submarines now in large numbers at this point. The crews of the Seeadlers have perfected their operations, and the Americans are losing an enormous amount of submarines, and probably will be driven out of the Eastern Atlantic region rather quickly with these losses. Most of the submarines had been previously damaged in operations, and friendly submarines obviously being able to sink American convoys as well, which are trying to make their way through to trade with the few that are left. Further attempts at naval invasions in Greenland are being planned, but we do have the mountain divisions in the area. The situation near Tashkent is not great when it comes to supply, however. So I think the eastern flank here is going to be difficult to hold, which means we're probably going to shorten the lines here. Sorry, it's the wrong group. Where are we? Here. We can shorten the eastern lines because these mountain regions are too far away from Tashkent for supply. So let's shorten the front lines here and concentrate the attack on Kabul in the north. Yeah, that should work out. And then from there we can we should have enough supply from the air. We're not going to get additional supply up on short notice here. So let's move the troops, and the Middle Europa group has been expanded, which means we can now see what we're going to go for next. Military factories, civilian factories, infrastructure projects, financial injections, arms experts, or industrial advisors. Infrastructure projects we'll go for. We'll see what else the others are running. But now we should be, once the German world empire has been declared, we should be able to start, yes, the regulation system. And that will improve our grasp over the Middle Europa economic system. Another secret project that the German military has been working on the Peenemünde Proving Grounds is the Vergeltungswaffe, the revenge weapon. And unfortunately the range is relatively short, but these rockets may at some point become useful for a short distance delivery of high explosive ordnance. So let's begin immediately with improvements on the Aggregat 10 secret project, which would give us the ability to reach much further than even the largest aircraft can possibly fly, and deliver unprecedented amounts of firepower. This means we are also going to be starting the construction of rocket sites. We don't have any space available on Greenland, so we may have to. There are literally no unlockable slots on Greenland, unfortunately, but we can start constructing these in other places. I think in let's see if we can build these. No, we can't build them. Can't build them on the Azores outposts. That would be good. Probably more on the on territory that we are directly controlling. Although having a rocket position in the Azores might be a good way of doing this. Let's see if there's anything we can deconstruct here. Okay, we might have to claim direct control over the Azores, which are currently under an autonomous government of Portugal, but we will probably take direct control over that. Okay, due to military necessity, the Azores have been coming under direct military control by the German Empire. And we are going to immediately, we'll see if we can, no, we don't want to convert it. We're going to remove the factory that has been constructed there, which will allow us to build a rocket site on the Azores with the target of potentially reaching towards the American continent. The other area where we might start building rocket sites would be in Hawaii. Let's see if we can still have, see if there's any availability. It does not look like, but alternatively, we could also do this in the north. No, not really. Okay, Azores for now is going to be the Central Atlantic base in order to start threatening the continental United States. Unfortunately, Greenland does not have the infrastructure for such a site, but we'll construct a backup site and we will simply destroy one of the existing factories here. There we go. So we've torn down a Portuguese factory in Portugal to be replaced with with a rocket site, and I think we need to improve the infrastructure in the area. Let's do that. Okay. With a rocket site, we have radar needs to be upgraded actually on all positions, including the Azores and Greenland as well. Yeah. So Greenland radar stations upgraded, and building another radar station in the South Atlantic. We might have to get this off Portugal too, but we do have the St. Helena radar. That might actually be another good. No, it's not a space I think where we can. No, we can't build there. It's too small. All right, the first experimental rocket sites are being constructed, and we shall see how that turns out. And advanced medium dual-purpose batteries are complete, which means we can now design ourselves a new cruiser. We should have the modern cruiser hull. There it is. And these cruisers are going to. The purpose of these cruisers is going to be to escort the carrier groups and to provide anti-aircraft cover. So they will be equipped with dual-purpose guns. So we're going to get dual-purpose secondaries and obviously a radar, fire control, dedicated anti-aircraft guns, and then where are they? There should be we've got light cruiser auto-loading. This should be the dual purpose. So we've got 150mm dual purpose, twin 150mm dual purpose, or the 200mm autoloaders for the heavy cruisers. But what we want is actually, interestingly enough, that seems to be still classified as a light cruiser gun. But yeah, we want the dual purpose guns. So because these things are going to provide some AA as well. So let's do that. And yeah, these will be gun cruisers. So we'll mostly be fitting guns on them. There we go. One more here. All right, we're down to 33 knots, and we are probably going to use the Germania Werft for that one. 33 knots, and we are that's 34 knots. That's actually still fast enough. So we can throw another. We could throw a torpedo launcher in there, but I'd rather have another battery. So let's see if we can get one more in. And now with that, we've got 40 anti-air, 54 light attacks. If we compare that with, I think, the Mars class would have been the latest. These have more firepower than the Mars class against light targets. No torpedo firepower yet. We still have to fit one in. But significantly better anti-air capabilities than the Mars. And we are, I think we don't have the torpedo launchers yet. Oh yeah, we don't have the modern ship torpedo launchers. That's fine. We might at this point just use the slightly older variant, and we'll refit that when it becomes available. And these ships are going to follow the Imperial light cruisers, honestly, and we're going to go with the Dresden class at this point. Dresden class. There we go. Save that, and that means we can start the production of these, which means we are going to wind down the production of Lux class escort ships, and then they can join the newly constructed fleet. Right, that's underway. So we've got some advanced landing craft research to do. So let's get that out of the way as well, and we'll be back when there are any news in the Cold War. It looks like American troops have managed to sneak through the Denmark Strait, despite get past our submarine pickets, and are landing on the eastern end of Greenland. We're sending four mountain divisions from the 8th Army over. That should be sufficient to deal with them. And in the meantime, we have more problems in Europe with a major unrest in occupied syndicalist territory. Our occupation of our syndicalist enemies continues. Oberstleutnant von de Grötschaft reports that major unrest instigated by remaining syndicalist cells has broken out in one of the districts of the occupied West. Thousands demanded the withdrawal of the German occupation and protested persistent hunger and poverty that has set in during wartime and in occupational conditions. The commanders issued dozens of arrests, while the rest of the crowd were dispersed without casualties. Still, the news has not helped the image of our occupation. Understandably, this is not helping the occupation's unpopularity back home. That is going to cost us 4% war support. Very unpleasant. We've just been working on propaganda news, so getting France to reduce the amount of resistance they're having is absolutely crucial to restore the civilian administration. Unfortunately, resistance in France is persistently high, and there is not an awful lot that we can directly do about this. So I did have a quick look, and yes, the resistance in France is still between 20 and 30%, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it because where was it? There was one option that I should be able to take, and this might be a bug. So I should be able to root out French partisans. The problem is there need to be 24 divisions in central France, and I don't think they're supposed to be mine because I've tried putting 24 divisions in central France and nothing happened. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, something we'll just have to deal with and continuously work on the home front situation. Let's see if the Americans are going to be landing in the east. I did not expect them to get through that unscathed, but I don't think they have. By the looks of it, they might be landing, but most of the troops that have been landing here have seem to have been sunk by submarines. Because if we're looking at them, they are very much under strength. So I think a lot of the troops actually a lot of the troop transports got taken down by submarines. And the Gebirgsjäger divisions are going to be having absolutely no problem of dealing with the remaining 3 American troops. But this is, I believe, the first time that we are seeing German imperial troops in direct conflict with the Americans. So it's quite an interesting development. We are short on aluminium, so let's import more from France. And yeah, this, even without air support, this should be a relatively quick military action here to destroy the remaining troops that have landed here. I think a few more divisions were making their way ashore, but that's about it. And yes, German submarines are fighting the Americans. There's actually a cruiser group active here as well. So once the Elsass is finished refitting, which is going to be in 1945, then we will send the first probably over towards Greenland, and have a more active screening here towards push the Americans out of the Denmark Strait and the northern passages here as well. All right, but for now, we'll just deal with the remaining troops, which should not be taking long. I'm actually surprised that I'm surprised that we have relatively little attack, but mostly it's due to terrain and due to combat width. Okay, what happened in Germany? This week, Große Freiheit, The Great Freedom, a new blockbuster by Helmut Keutner, starring world-famous actors such as Hans Albers and Ilse Werner, celebrated its premiere at the UFA Movie Palace in Hamburg, the largest cinema in Europe. Much to the delight, actually we need to go up to Hamburg then, much to the delight of the local population, as the movie's storyline takes place in the Hanseatic city as well. Lauded by critics as a grand example of the poetic realism genre, the film tells the story of an aging and cynical ex-seafarer named Johnny, who spent his retirement as a singing entertainer at a club along the Große Freiheit, a street in Hamburg's famous red light district of St. Pauli. After he promises his dying brother to watch for the latter's girlfriend Gisa after his death and allows the young girl, barely 20 years old, to live in his room as a housemaid, he begins to develop feelings of love for the first time in many years, albeit entirely without Gisa suspecting anything, who in the meantime begins courting a shipyard worker without Johnny's knowledge. Johnny becomes so obsessed with the girl that he goes as far to plan proposing to her and giving up his old unstable life, but just when he bought the rings to find out about Gisa's secret relationship. Aggrieved, ashamed, and disgraced, the old sea dog decides to leave his old life behind forever and embarks yet again on a ship that same night, never to return. The movie has not only become widely popular because of its deeply melancholic and fatalist storyline, which captures the spirit of the wartime era perfectly, but also due to its fantastic soundtrack. Many schlagers featured in the film, like the iconic La Paloma and On the Reeperbahn at midnight, have already become instant classics and are played on record players all over Europe. Yes, A Sailor's Bride is the sea, very much. 1% base stability, a nice little aside, and always good to have the UFA involved. And in fact, once we are done with the research, I'm actually going to replace the Uranverein with the UFA probably. In fact, what that would give us 15% war support and 10% stability. So I think that's something we can actually make use of quite effectively. I just want to get the research bonuses first. So the Greenland invasion is being dealt with, despite the fact that we only have the strategic bomber wings of. Actually, this is third Luftflotte. I forgot to rename that. Luftflotte 3. There we go. In the area, which are not going to be of any use, but we have to make sure that the Americans can't make their way towards the secret base near Nuuk. Interesting that they chose to land on the east coast, but yeah, we'll be dealing with that without any trouble. And Hawaii, the Kingdom of Hawaii, has taken over. Okay, a lot of things just happened. Has taken over the north of New Zealand, and German East Asia has taken Wellington, and I think as such that part of Australasia is falling. But heavy battles on the Australian east coast between loyalist troops at Sydney and Newcastle are still under Dutch control, but heavy fighting going on. With the reinforcements, they should be able to deal with that. The German world empire has completed. That's the Deutsches Weltreich. Victorious in Europe, the eagle now spreads its wings, and it has many places to fly to. We must continue intervening, reshaping Asia, Africa, and the Americas how we see fit, and challenge the last rivals remaining. Yes, we are looking at the USAS in that manner. And obviously a lot of the focuses here have been bypassed simply because that's not something we have. We will continue to extinguish syndicalism in Europe, but first we are going to see if we can do more with the Mitteleuropa system. So introducing the regulation system for coordinating activities of member states of Mitteleuropa. They will be created with the unanimous assent of the member states, officially at least. It's a democracy. One country, one vote. Germany is the country; it has the vote. But they will be mandatory for all member states to follow. Okay, so that gives us increased factory output and construction speed, and everybody else loses a bit of output and construction speed. But such is the economic system that we are introducing. Centered around the empire. All right, finishing up the last troops there in Greenland. How's the air situation in Australia? It's actually rather surprised. You should not be red air. We have absolutely brutally bad mission efficiency. That's why. Why would that be? We have no supply, I believe. That seems to be the problem. Yeah, supply is not great in the occupied areas there. That's why. So Let's see if we can do something about that. So we just don't have enough fuel here in the region to supply the aircraft. So we do have the number of aircraft, but especially the let's send some additional ground crews in and see if we can slightly improve things. And the air detection is ridiculously bad as well. So can we build a radar station in Queensland? We cannot. Yeah, that isn't happening. So yes, we have a lot of planes in the area, but they are very, very inefficient, which is obviously causing further problems here. And unless the Australians aren't actually flying their own planes, we do. If they don't, we actually have some manner of control. But yeah, that remote airbase is also completely over capacity. Can we improve the size of that airbase, please? And let's prioritize these things. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere in this particular set here. A new naval invasion in Cuba happening. Large amounts of American troops now trying to land in Cuba, but I believe that despite the fact that they probably have some support from the sea, I don't think they'll be breaking the Cuban defenses here. And that should end up in a defeat potentially, but it shows the determination of the Americans. And yes, we have eradicated the troops. We'll leave some mountaineer divisions on the east coast just to secure the area here and ensure that no further American action is going to take place there. Okay, the regulation system has been completed, and that opens up further options to improve the system around, but I think we do need to focus on domestic policies again for now. We have done the Schleicher Constitution, and we have some potential. We've also got some potential in foreign policy here, but let's complete some more domestic policies for now. We can cement the role of the army in society, and I think that is something that we should be doing. Where through the power of the Reichskanzler, do we have Allied landings in Canada potentially? It looks like Spanish. No, these are just some Spanish ships. Not sure if there are any landings there, but we will see. We will see what they do. Yeah, so getting that sorted. How's the air situation here? Still abysmal. And do we have a slight improvement in? We've got no supply. I thought I said this. Yeah, we've said this. No supply is the main problem here in the area, and that is costing us all the mission efficiency, which means planes can't effectively operate, and that gives the enemy an edge. So unfortunately, that hampers our situation. But the Dutch have linked up in the north, but have gotten isolated in Sydney, unfortunately, which means that Allied troops there, are surrendering to Australasian forces. And they are shipping out, leaving Sydney open while troops in the south are attacking. This is the general lack of coordination that we are finding frequently with Reichspakt troops operating on their own. But we'll leave them to it. German East Asia has taken over all of New Zealand at this point, and is just fighting some isolated troops near Christchurch. And China is seems to have either they've made peace or they no longer have any progress. Let's have a quick look if China is still, the Beijing intervention in Sichuan is still ongoing, so China is still very much active, and Afghanistan has not done anything yet. We keep finding American small American destroyer groups that are starting to operate in the East Atlantic and trying to protect convoys there, but we are taking care of them relatively successfully. And more submarines are being sunk. They're operating. They're still operating in somewhat sizable groups, but I think it's only a matter of time before the submarine scourge in the area is completely defeated and dealt with. So yeah, there's another one. So that's ongoing. Okay, the modern torpedo launcher is complete, which means I think we are pretty much done with ship modules, and we can get the modern submarine hull researched as well. But that'll allow us to design a modern fleet destroyer. So we are going, destroyers. We're going to go with lightship hull, and the best engine we've got. I think for the fleet escort, I am going to go with Germania Werft. Yeah. All right. So fleet escort, torpedo launcher 4. They are going to get radar. They are going to. We could get them the S-Gerät, but let's see about that. Yeah, we should give them the S-Gerät as well. AA, and then we are. We could go with dual-purpose main batteries, so that's 2.5 light attack or 3 light attack. I think the light batteries are better here. We've already got the cruisers, so these will actually get 150 millimeter SKL-55. So cruiser caliber guns on these destroyers should be making an absolute wreck out of any enemy destroyer that gets in the way, and then we can add a depth charge launcher for anti-submarine operations, as well as an additional. We've got three twin guns, so for 6 in total. That's a fair amount of firepower. Let's compare that to the 1942A type. Yeah, that's already more firepower than these have. So I think a second torpedo launcher here is in order. And with that, they bring anti-submarine capabilities to fleet escort, the fleet escort duty, and improved surface detection, improved submarine detection, and improved light attack as well. So that is going to be the 1945 destroyer. All right, there we go. 1945 model of destroyer. Save that. And we are going to get these. Under construction, and they will also be joining the 4th Schlachtgeschwader, which is the most modern group that we are currently building. How many more of the Lux are we having? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so we can get 2 more of these under wraps, which means the 1942s are now decommissioned or now outdated. And we are going to be building 3 lanes of the 1945s. And all of these will join the 4th. And there we go. And we will just produce these in series. So that, together with the light cruisers, should give this sufficient firepower. We've got 4 tier-class battleships. Only want to build one of these. 4 tier-class battleships under construction. And the Luxes are going to be the last to be produced. And then we've still got the 2 Elsass, 1 under refit and 1 under construction as well. We've got some mechanized equipment to refit, so let's do that as well. And we are building a significant number of the America bomber at this point, such that we should start seeing some of these air wings in Greenland. I think they are, yeah. So if we're looking at that, that's the range that they're having from here. So unfortunately, it's not enough. I think it's not enough range yet to hit New York, which is unfortunate. But this is the furthest range we can get. So From Greenland, we can reach the northern Canadian areas. At least we can bomb Halifax from there. But in order to get to New York, we might need to station these elsewhere. And I think I know what is a good space to build an airbase, and that would be Cuba. Let's improve the Cuban infrastructure. Would the Cubans allow us to build a rocket site? No. But there is a rather large airbase on Cuba, so we might at some point start start sending some of these aircraft south. Actually, we might just do that. So let's get the first Fernkampfgeschwader wing from the 3rd Luftflotte transferred to the they don't really have we'll transfer it to Havana, and we'll be helping with building up the airbase there, and I think from there that would allow for operations. Allied troops have consolidated the Dutch control over Sydney, and despite Australian counterattacks are now moving south towards Canberra. Can we no, we don't have the Canberra airbase under control yet. So for now we are still suffering. Now we're starting to get slightly improved mission efficiency from the infrastructural work that we've been doing, and I think that is a major component in assisting the combat operations on the ground here. Over in New Zealand, the last resistance is being flushed out by German East Asian troops, and from there on out, I think, the Australian troops are on the retreat. Once they capture the airbase west of Sydney, then I think we can transfer the bombers there, and see that we can do some additional, give some additional air support on the ground. In the winter of 1945, Kurt von Schleicher has died, the greatest Reichskanzler in recent history. Kurt von Schleicher passed away in his villa in Neu-Abelsberg near Potsdam from late-stage pernicious anemia. Schleicher spent the last few months of his life in slow and careful retirement to avoid worsening his disease, meeting with various figures in his villa, starting on his memoirs and going on a few trips with his wife. The government announced mourning on the day of his death, and a massive funeral was held in Berlin, attended by the Kaiser, Reichskanzler, all members of the cabinet, numerous representatives of the Heer, and the Reichstag, as well as hundreds of civilians. General Kurt von Hammerstein-Eckward, who cherished his friendship with Schleicher in spite of them falling out, led a toast of 400 officers in Schleicher's honor. Schleicher did not leave any children. His marriage to his wife Elizabeth, herself the daughter of General Victor von Hennings, was a political one. Her good looks and charm earned the Schleichers admiration in social events and allowed her husband to connect with influential figures, and he himself wrote that he needed a certain amount of support from female wisdom and feminine tact in his work. However, he leaves behind a legacy that will shape the future of Germany for a century or more. With that, an era ends. Kurt von Schleicher has died. He had retired already quite a bit ago and has passed on the baton to Karl Friedrich Goerdeler. But monuments will probably be erected in Berlin in his name, because he brought the German Empire from the brink of from tearing itself apart under the threat of external enemies to the leading world power, and it is now, given the threat of socialism in North America, it is now up to his successors to prove that the empire can persist, that the Reichspakt can defend even its farthest reaches, and that any kind of threat emanating from the Americas can be put down. For now, the threat is used for propaganda purposes to stabilize the situation at home and to create especially under the light of the military occupation in France and Britain, that needs to be solved before we can think of any more further foreign adventures. But Germany is preparing itself for a final confrontation with the Union of Socialist American States, to put down the specter of left-wing totalism that emanates from there once and for all.